everybody. Can you hear me? Okay, this is on. Thank you. Just place that here. And Technology. Okay. Welcome all. I have the honor to talk a bit about virtual and augmented reality analytics. I think. Yeah. My name is Joerg Osarek. I'm from a small town near Frankfurt, Bad Homburg, and I am in the IT consulting business since 1992. I had my, I am co-founder of It's People, which is a IT consulting company with about 70 consultants doing database consulting, business intelligence, data warehousing, and IT project management. And I'm building a VR unit for them. And where the things go more crazy, I have my Skill Tower Institute where I explore things in VR. And I'm doing this for a lot of time already. There are some subjects I had in the past few years, and I just looked how much time I was ahead of mainstream, and I discovered I was always sometimes ahead of mainstream. My first virtual world I built was a database-generated world when I worked for Oracle in 1998. When we believed VR will take over the world in the next few years. But it was quite interesting because it was bidirectional. You could manipulate things in VR in a web browser with a Cosmo player, and it wrote back to the database and displayed you other information. And I loved that time very much, so I'm very grateful that it's returning and is so much more fantastic than we explored it before. So, I made a discovery at the FMX in 2015 when I had a 3-day immersion track and almost listened to all talks about VR and AR, and I understood, okay, you need a lot of user testing in there because users do not behave like you expected. And so I thought, because we're doing business intelligence, it could be interesting to connect this to your BI and data systems and data warehouses. And this is what we are talking about. And after several things happened, I discovered, okay, it's a bet. I was invited to some keynotes about that. I was invited to moderate a panel at the first virtual reality analytics web summit in San Francisco, which I did from my basement in Germany. But it shows more and more people are interested in VR and AR analytics. So I think the introduction to VR and AR I will keep very short because you can experience so many interesting things here. The important thing is it's a magical medium which can let you experience absolute delight or pure horror. There are some videos of some people, you know, that Russian guy in the mall thinking when somebody pushes him, he's falling down the roller coaster, or some people attacked by skeletons and completely freaking out. So it's so powerful, and this means we need to be very responsible with things we are producing. Okay, one thing that is important for me, because I'm working on a Holodeck musical as well, is it's not only about VR headsets. The headsets are interesting, but that's not the only way to experience a virtual reality. There are caves, there are full domes, there are other kinds of displays coming up. There's very interesting stuff going on in the recording area, especially with light field cameras. And a very important part is interaction. And I was quite amazed when I drew my first thing with a HTC Vive and tilt brush and exported it and imported it into Blender, so you can use the model you just drew in 3D and do whatever you want with it. So what is happening next? I think when you plan to implement new technology in enterprise systems, you need to have a look what is happening the next time. And there are already some applications doing voice, mood analysis, brainwave interfaces, I think, are a bit far off right now. But maybe our next VR experience will be, I have something on my head which directly stimulates my neural system. I wouldn't want one to be operated in me, but if I just can put it on like a helmet, why not? Mark Zuckerberg said, we will be able to send emotions to each other soon. And I asked myself, how would this look like? Maybe if a beautiful wife had trouble in the kitchen and would send this emotion, it depends on where you are right now, if you want this emotion unfiltered, and if you would like that. I think I wouldn't like that. But there's, the more I digged into this subject, I understood there's a whole new gold mine for business intelligence in it. And there are two ways to look at that. The first is to visualize your analytics data in VR. This is a great thing, and we do this as well, but this is not what we are covering today. But if you are in a VR experience to measure what happens and to put this into your business intelligence systems. And because I love 8-bit, I'm a child who grew up with a C64, and I loved this glowing pixels, I said, okay, let's do this presentation in 8-bit. And so we modeled it in 8-bit a bit. First thing, when you start is you need a goal, and the goal is how do you integrate VR and AR sources into big data systems. So level 1, you get your mission, build me the perfect VR analytics platform. Let's start with that. What do we need? The first thing you would ask yourself is, can I buy this anywhere? And there are already some vendors working on this, some very promising. For those who, you may take a photo, but I guess it's, it's on SlideShare already, so you can get it later. There are all the links in. The interesting thing is, I've done this presentation several times, and it changes quite fast, because, for example, Retinat is joined Rothenberg Ventures. Now there's some rumors about some financial issues. And so the landscape is changing very fast, so you need to be not only looking what do we want to do technically, but also what is happening on the market and where can we find software that we can count on for a longer time. Now, there are two companies I found that are pretty interesting. The one is Retinat, as I mentioned, and the other is Cognitive VR, a Canada-based company. Right now they offer plugins or prefabs for Unreal and for Unity. And I had some chats with them, and recently they put up something they call Scene Explorer, which means you have a Unity Unity is game engine, a Unity-based VR experience. Use their prefab, everything is recorded, and then you can, everything is sent to the cloud, to the server up there, and then you can upload your Unity file or export it, and they convert it so everybody can see it in a browser. And this is quite great because you don't need a VR headset to visualize that, but you just, I think it's some HTML5 WebGL stuff, You just can walk around in there. You can see, for example, this is a real estate example. Over time, it changes where people look at, and you can change perspective and everything. And we prepared a small video, I think. This is what I tried. So a bit fancy like Tron. I dreamed of getting into the computer ever since I saw Tron in 1982. This is a game scene from a fantasy game, I think. And you see down there the slider, and when you turn it forwards and backwards, you can see what did the person perceive when he went through this experience. You can play that back. You can go into first-person perspective, so you see what the people see. And there are other information like when did he teleport, when did he pick up something. So you get a recording of the behavior, and it's all simple data sets that are sent to the server that you can query and use for later analysis. You can tweak that, change colors, change the size of things or the intensity. And this is quite new, and they're still at the beginning, but already interesting. Thank you. Now, yeah, and I chatted with them over their company website, Cognitive VR, and Robert Murky answered. And he says, oh, I read your book, because we written a book about virtual reality analytics. And we had a small dialogue where he told me some interesting things I want to share with you. For example, the blue stuff. First he told me was, we have a lot of things we can record, even the arm length of users. And if you think about it, if you have a HTC Vive, yes, it's possible to determine that, or the height of a user. For example, there was a customer complaining that they couldn't get to the next level. This was when they looked in first-person perspective. Oh, he's too small to see the button he has to press. So you can optimize your experience based on this data, which was not possible before. Now to some technical stuff. This was Unity-based, which means it is in a game engine. This is the example we have on the right side. There are some choices you can make. Unity, you can use CryEngine or Unreal, which are all good for that, and improving on VR and later AR. And on the other hand, you have pre-rendered content, which is like YouTube VR, YouTube 360, which is a screen that is wrapped around your head. And there is usually no interaction. There is something YouTube does or Google does, which is called Google Spotlight Stories, which changes the game. But those are the two extremes. And there is some clever technology for in-between, hybrid, for example. You really should check out the company nozone.com with a product called Presence. And if you get the chance, try it. Because what they do is you send them your 3D data, and they throw through renderer. And it's not light field, as Tristan, the CEO, told me, but it's technically like light field, what you can do with it. Because afterwards, you can turn your head, you have complete parallax, and you can move in a pre-rendered movie. And it's absolutely fascinating. And they build this up to room scale, so you can have a Hollywood movie and you can walk around in it with absolute great special effects. Now back to VR analytics. This means for every of these projection approaches, you need to have different approaches how to collect your data and how to get meaning to it. This is the next important point. The first thing is you measure something. which is technical, like the head rotation is that way and 5 degrees up and whatever. But this doesn't help us. We need to have a mapping layer to translate this measurement data into meaning. And then, and only then, we can analyze the data to say what does it mean. He watched the red car for 5 seconds. And this also means time matters, because what you saw in the 3D scene is great, that we have it in the 3D scene, but if another player or another object is there and 5 seconds later it's somewhere else, it depends on the time, what is the meaning of where he looks and what does he track. And one thing, so I think today this mapping must be mainly made manually, but soon it could be done automatically, and I'll give you some examples. This is a software called Neural Talk 2. It's a free image analysis software you can put on any server. You can get it from GitHub. And after being trained, it tells you what it sees on the pictures. And I would say it has a 60–70% accuracy, which is good for a start. But it shows definitely where it goes. So we will be able to let the computer automatically determine what was in the scene and make this mapping. Now, there are some more data streams we can add. I'll show you some. For example, facial expressions. If we have eye tracking, you could think about analyzing eye movement, you know, from natural neurolinguistic programming, mood analysis, the heart rate of your smartwatch, for example. And we should think of even more streams and inputs coming in. I brought something with this. My son has a red one. I have this one. I don't know if I can open it. Can I? No, I need a scissors. Oh, I don't have it. But this is from Playmobil. It's a app cannon. So there's a real cannon in it, and you can just shoot those cannonballs out of it. It's skulls with green eyes. But it's also an augmented reality application, which means you put it in front of a phone. It determines how is the cannon placed, and you can shoot in augmented reality or virtual reality something you see, and the software tells you, did I hit it or not? And now think a bit, what could we learn about the playing behavior of the children? This is, on the one side, absolutely fantastic, and on the other side, maybe a bit creepy. But those are things that, or possibilities that we get our hands on in the future. And some companies are doing this very well already. Now, chances and challenges. I'm going a bit quicker now, because I don't want to keep you from your lunch break. Big data. With VR and VR analytics and augmented reality analytics, big data is not that big anymore, because we are heading to a gigantic data world I call GiganData. There are some approaches how to address that. For example, this is a motion capture scene, and you see it's lots of stuff at 120 frames per second. What we can do is we can interpolate that, and if we want to use this data later on, we have to do it, otherwise our data centers would explode. There is translate to meaning I already showed. There are other things like technical fragmentation. There are so many headsets right now. We need to build in abstraction layers so they work for us in the future, especially when you have enterprise projects. It will be more important to build and keep intermediate results layers, which means after 3 or 5 years I'm able to get to my intermediate results layer and put it into a new technology to save, to protect my investment. And one thing I learned was data privacy and data security are very important subjects, and I think it's important to have an open dialogue about that right now. So we don't build great systems and somebody says, oh no, you mustn't do that. It's better for the investment if we have some rules what we may and may not do before. Now, okay, I had the idea of something like a facial expression analysis back in 2012. We have that already. Now I'll show you some things besides AR and VR. This is from a company called Affectiva, which makes on your cell phone, a smartphone, or over your webcam neural network analysis of your face and says, are you happy, are you angry, or do you feel disgust? And you can very precisely analyze the emotions of people, and they're offering an API so you can use it for your projects. So the question today and tomorrow is, what is the user going to do within the next few seconds to give your application the chance to react on that? Now, there was some things we needed to build those VR analytics systems. And I think I have 5 minutes, is that correct? So this was the must program. Now comes something that is quite important to me, which is, I thought this a bit further, and this was what Alicia Naples was doing yesterday. I had some similar thoughts on that. I think there are 3 waves coming right now. The first is the virtual reality wave, the second is the augmented reality wave, and the third is something I call USEMIR, Ubiquitous SEnsory MIxed Reality. This is when we take our augmented reality headsets off and the magic remains. We had a presentation about Google Tango coming out. I learned right now it's not September, but October 2016, which is a 3D sensing capable device, and this will be only the first in a whole generation of constantly improving devices being able to sense our environment. This is a funny thing called Masquerade, which in real time records you and puts a mask on you or exchanges faces with another person. And the interesting thing is, with just a smartphone camera, it's able to precisely track the 3D position of your head and where you're looking at, and it's quite good in processing facial expressions like and exchanging that and putting that correctly on there. It's a company, I think, acquired by Facebook, so we see who is working on that. And that's the same what I showed here. Google is doing the same things, and Apple's doing the same things. So quite interesting times. Then there is a company in Kiel here in Germany called Real Eyes, and they're producing light field displays, which it's a bit like lenticular, like those postcards, but even when you tilt your head, the illusion remains intact because there are 250,000 lenses in there, and behind each is a pre-rendered image, which gives you the possibility on the right to have a focus point in space, so it really produces the image into space. And I visited them back in some weeks ago, and I had the honor to be led through the factory, and there was a 2-meter mammoth in there, and I said, okay, take your 3D camera and make some pictures and try with photogrammetry to extract the 3D model from that, and you see here it worked. So this means machines cannot distinguish between real and artificial 3D objects anymore, and this is quite, an interesting thing. And I think if you build this in the right way, you can really produce a holodeck, which I need for my musical, of course. There are other things that are quite interesting. For example, this with small finger fairy lights. You should watch a video on YouTube. It's a floating hologram in the air, which is interactive. You can touch it, and it's quite small, and the machine to produce this is quite big. But if I think about what do we have now, and how huge was it before, or how I think it's quite interesting for the future. So we can do this layer R2D2 scene. Now we can do this for real. Microsoft HoloLens or other augmented reality solutions, of course, will make their part and will also change what we analyze about our behavior. Thinking of all of this, I understood we are getting close to, we are right now building the architectures to give machines the abilities to nearly read our minds. And this is what's happening right now. And I think, yeah, we should do it, but I think we should be aware of it, and we should think about what do we want the machines to know about us and what not. Now, maybe some people are frightened by that. And so you could think about, should we go back to the caves, or should we prepare to be terminated? But I think it's a wrong question. The question is, why do we fear a Terminator scenario? Why don't we think we are honorable people and we see a bright new future and the machines will be our partners? And it's their third choice. And I thought some years about it, and I think, yes, there's a third choice. I believe it's important. We can qualify for the 22nd century right now by cultivating old values like chivalry and wisdom. And what I mean with chivalry, you see there in the bubble. And this will make us self-confident. This will make us honorable partners, and we are working together as a civilization to build a bright new future. And the rest is up to us. We shape our future together with our systems, with the systems we build, and with our actions and daily decisions we make. And I think it's a good sentence Stan Lee, the inventor of Spider-Man, said, we now come into very great power. With great power comes great responsibility, and I'm looking forward to do something great with it with you together. If you want some more information, you can buy this brilliant book. I wrote some parts, and 8 other people also put their knowledge in. You find it on Amazon when you type in virtual reality analytics. Or I recorded a video training. We had a training week, and I re-recorded it, and we are just in the process of putting it on a platform. So within some days you can get it there. Otherwise you can subscribe there, and you will be informed when it's ready. Right now it's only the German version, but I'm planning in English as well. Now we're at the end, lunchtime, and any further information, come to me. I'm here all day. Otherwise, I wish you a great time. Thank you.